Holiday.
But we begin with a story that has captured the world's attention, the death of Whitney Houston. The 48-year-old Grammy winner was found dead in her bathroom at the Beverly Hilton on Saturday. Today, TMZ reports she likely died from a mix of prescription drugs and alcohol.
Now, this information comes from family sources who've been briefed by the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. TMZ says the family was told there wasn't enough water in Houston's lungs for her to have drowned, but it will be another 6 to 8 weeks before we know the official cause of death, pending toxicology reports.
Joining us to discuss this topic and a whole lot more, we do have a round table today. Our guest, retired Phoenix PD Sergeant Andy Hill.
And personal trainer and transformation specialist Chris Powell from Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition.
So great to have both of you along.
Well, thank you for having us.
Andy, we're going to start with you as far as this Whitney Houston case. You've done a lot of these, scenes like this before. Her daughter, 18 years old, not allowed into the room. Is that normal? Is that standard?
It really is, and of course, condolences to the family. Whitney was my favorite singer for many, many years. But when something like this happens, no matter who you are, when you have such a great amount of attention, people in and out of a place, you have to make sure that you keep that scene as pristine as possible to determine exactly what happened. As we learned from the Michael Jackson case, it's so important to preserve what you have there until law enforcement can come in and make sure that everything is in order and do what they need to do. And it's very difficult on the family no matter what. It's a terrible tragedy, but it's something that's going to take time.
And of course, we said we don't know the official cause of death yet. Police want to keep this as closed case as possible. They don't want to give anything away. Talk about why it's important to preserve the case.
Well, it's because just in case something else wasn't quite right. I mean, obviously, past history tells us that in all likelihood, it was probably something to do with a drug or a combination of drugs and alcohol. But in any case, you have to go ahead and make sure that there was nobody else in the room with her or in that room, that nobody knew, that there was no foul play, that there wasn't anything illegal about any of the prescription drugs that may have been there or anything that happened. So you just have to take your time with it, and nothing makes it easier, especially when you have someone that's died.
And Chris, this stunning the world, really. I mean, we woke up and we've seen so many phenomenal performers, from Michael Jackson, to Whitney Houston, to Amy Winehouse. What was your reaction?
Well, and even actors like Heath Ledger. I mean, It just seems so common now, this whole the combination of prescription drugs and alcohol nowadays. Of course, my reaction was shock. It's one of those things like, how could this possibly happen? I mean, Whitney Houston, she was a family favorite for my family growing up. In fact, that was my very first concert of all times. It was Whitney Houston at the Tacoma Dome. I remember it so well. I was 14 years old. And so just going back, I mean, it's so hard to believe that it happened, but at the same time, it does shed light on some very common problems that celebrities aren't just dealing with. Americans are dealing with this problem. I mean, prescription medications are everywhere nowadays, and they seem so accessible, even in the schools now.
It's not just the illegal drugs anymore that we have to be worried about. Like you said, prescription drugs, people that, normal people, everyday people have access to this and take it on a regular basis.
I have to just say, because I've looked at all the most recent drug studies and what our children are doing, opiates, prescription drugs are really the newest problem, and we're years behind in addressing. It's not just methamphetamine, but those opiates and the easy access and the fact that you can smoke heroin. So many children and teenagers are being affected by it now.
Yeah. So what do we take away from this?
Well, let's get to Facebook really quickly, and then because so many of you are really sounding off. Anika Miller says, beyond sad. She says, I thought how fleeting life is and how this is just a grim reminder that money can buy most anything except immortality.
Or happiness. Carol Sellers-Mockamer says, she will be remembered for her golden voice. We should not get fixated on the bad side. She was a wonderful woman who had a family and many fans.
Amy Yazzie, I was shocked, sad, very sad. I still can't believe it. I always loved her music. I will always remember the beautiful music.
Adam Powell says, I felt like whatever, goodbye. How about honoring the soldiers who gave their lives on that day? Ever think about that one? There were several people who actually posted comments like that on our Facebook page.
Yeah, well, we'll end it on that note, but do keep the dialogue going on our Facebook page, as so many of you have since Saturday.